Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Whizzbang podcast. Today on the podcast, we've got one of Whizzbang's own. Say hello to Keebie Gilkerson, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
He's one of Whizzbang's own. Tell me what you do for Whizzbang, at Whizzbang, with Whizzbang.
Whatever Ian tells me to do.
Whatever Ian tells you to do. What could that do? What could that be in a typical day?
Every day is different. That's why, being in the management world and the promotional world is pretty cool. Because every day really is different. Every band's dealing with different things.
Big and small.
Yeah. But on a day-to-day, I mainly focus on my three bands, which are Arlen McKinley, Buffalowabs, the Price Hill Hustle, and then Short and Company.
Three very good bands. We were just Ona just played a show in Ashland about 2 weeks ago with the Wobs. Yep. Super nice dudes. I think I one time filmed a show for the Wobs a long time ago.
Really?
This was like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not a videographer. We got better people to do that around here nowadays. Anyway, I know the Wobs super good. Like, what do they got going on now? Are they? I know Arlo's about to go on a humongous tour.
Yeah, actually, today we just dropped a huge tour, added all the support. So, he's going everywhere, all up at the East Coast, through the Midwest, all the way to Colorado and back
a biggie.
for this year.
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Now, would you go on the road with Arlo during some of that?
We try to pinpoint certain shows, certain promoters that you want to go and meet, hang out with us.
Shake a couple of hands. Okay.
Yeah, you got to shake a couple of hands.
I can really tell you've been hanging out with Ian Thornton now. You're really in the biz. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super fun. Every once in a while, Ian would come along on the owner shows and just hop in the van. Yeah. We're kind of like a hot air balloon, just coasting on our own tour-wise. Mm-hmm. Now we don't really need the babysitting so much, but like, does what you do ever cross the lines into like tour management or like?
At times, especially starting out, as you guys know, as a band develops, you don't have the money or the resources to have a tour manager.
No.
And so that's where, bigger shows where a tour manager, could be a big benefit. Those are the type of shows that I would go, and then, I'll handle merch and do all that.
Yeah.
And then, a band gets to a certain level, and that's when you bring in a tour manager. And,
yeah. I'll tell you what, Ona could have benefited from a tour manager at Red Rocks. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of, it was obviously an immense opportunity. Everybody was out there.
Crownover there, man. Kyle can do it all.
That's how nice Kyle Crownover is. And Kyle he has a podcast of his own, and he's the tour manager for Tyler Childers. Mm-hmm. He's in the bubble. He's in this bubble. And he is so good at his job, he was helping us do what would be his job. Oh yeah. Just pro bono. Oh yeah. That's how good. That's how slick he is at his job.
Oh, there's been many a times where I'll call Kyle and be like, "Hey, what do we do about this, man?" And I've seen him in the fire, and he finds his way out every time.
Yeah, people underestimate like when they go to see a show. Yeah, there's the band, and yeah, there's like the people running sound. I think that's all, and the merch people say. Right. I think that's what the spectator really takes in is the band, and maybe some of the stage people, personnel. Yeah. But like behind any touring operation, especially a big one with the bus playing, 2,000 theaters and whatever. I mean, that is like a whole organization.
Oh yeah.
Sam's wearing a Grateful Dead shirt over here behind the camera, and I know the Grateful Dead had so many people working for them that weren't in the band, just personnel who helped the touring thing go on, that the Grateful Dead couldn't necessarily go off the road because these people had like families to feed.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of bands ran into in COVID too. It's not just the band that you're seeing, it's a whole team behind it.
Yeah.
Like there's been festivals that we've promoted where the headliner will show up with more employees than we have as a festival.
Wait. Say that again?
So like a headliner will show up for a festival.
Okay.
And they'll show up with 2 or 3 buses.
Oh my gosh.
20 or 30 people jump out, and they all have their own little job or whatever. That's more people than the whole festival has. So there is a small business behind these bands every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really gets taken for granted. How long have you been with Whizzbang, doing the thing?
With Whizzbang officially, I guess since like 2018. It actually started right here on this block. I was working for the city of Huntington in the planning department, and we were doing a block party right here, right outside this window, called 1100 BAM. And so the thought was we would take over all the vacant storefronts and put vendors in them and show the city what it would look like if this was completely at capacity.
Right.
And then we did an art show and all that out there. I know Tyler was on. I'm not sure if you guys were on that one or not.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we had a whole bill on it. So then I just kept working. I called Ian first. I was like, hey, how do I do this? He was like, you go to all the shows, just book the show or the show that you want to see.
Right.
I was like, oh shit, I can do that. And then so, I started working for Ian more and more. I'd constantly been begging him to hire me at Whizzbang, and then he was like, you can be over volunteers at HMAF. Cool. And so I did that, and then I started doing these events, and then eventually Whizzbang started to grow to a point where he needed me more and more, and I couldn't have 2 full-time jobs. So
right.
He picked me up full-time.
There you go. It's a transition into show business full-time.
No doubt.
That's always satisfying. I'm waiting for my opportunity to transfer into show business full-time. I think I'm like right there.
No doubt.
Yeah, man. It's like the only type of world I like living in, and I'm sure that's probably the bug you got, where it's just like, oh yeah, if I figure out how to do a couple of these things, book a show or organize an event or like be a guy on hand at an event, I can just do this all the time, and I never have to go back to like what I call real life.
Right.
I'm not interested in real life anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out with the showbiz hooligans.
Yeah, that's what I'm at, man. I think I lucked in and met Ian at the right time, and it all worked out.
What do you guys got planned for like next year? Growing the business, just growing the overall, the goals. What are the goals for next year? Because there's been a lot of growth. I mean, Whizzbang put on a lot of new artists, and everybody's busy, and everybody's got new records. Right. I mean, Arlo's got huge tours. Like, everybody's on festivals and doing all this stuff all the time. How do you scale it even more? Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah. We're constantly thinking about it and having team meetings. As this thing grows, it gets harder and harder because as you guys know, as a band gets bigger, there's more things to do every single day. Yeah. And there's only I think like 4 of us at Whizzbang right now.
Small team.
Yeah. So I think moving forward, really our focus is to realign our focus back to all the bands.
Right.
Yeah. Get them all to a certain area where they're all touring all over the country and they all have teams behind them. Yeah. So I think a renewed focus to all the bands is the top priority, and then bringing people in like Impact. That are doing like the podcast and the cooking show, really just trying to throw out a bunch of lines.
Sure.
And see what happens.
I could see that. Yeah. It'd be a nice thing to look at. I'm sure Ian looks at it this way, but it would be a nice thing to look at all your bands and be like, on tour, new record, on tour.
Right.
Because, I mean, really, the music thing really boils down to just activity. Just remaining active, and that is a lot of work, and that's like the type of work that you're doing, keeping bands active at shows, on tour, making stuff. I just don't I can definitely see you guys needing more hands on deck. Throw some emails my way. Maybe that's how I transition full time. I'm gonna get behind the stage and start hanging out with you guys. I already got the hoodie. I look like
hoodie.
I look like I fit in backstage.
No doubt.
I'm going to walk around and start taking credit for everything. Be like,
that's all I do at Whizzbang.
That's my band. Yeah, they're growing huge. Double capacity in 6 months, new record, all this stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So how hard do I have to beg to get a job? Let me know. This podcast is off the rails. I'm asking for work. I'm just kidding about it.
No, it took me about 2 or 3 years of begging, I think, to get on Whizzbang. So, I think you should be coming up on it.
That's great, man. I'm trying to think of like, what else? Because you're wearing a Healing Appalachia shirt. Tell me your involvement within that festival and what that's all about.
So I'm on the board right now for Healing Appalachia. So, that all came to be with another Whizzbanger co-worker, Charlie Hatcher. Had a run-in with a good friend that had lost a son to opiate addiction. Yeah. And he started thinking, what can I do? What can I do? All I know is music. So then he figured, we'll just do a fundraiser show and see what happens. So he called Ian. Ian called me because he knew I had a background in nonprofit work. Next thing we know, we formed a board, and that was 3 or 4 years ago now. Booked Tyler for it, Kelsey Walden, Justin Wells, a handful of other folks, and it just started growing exponentially. And it's so needed in Appalachia. Unfortunately, this year we had to cancel the event for COVID, which was a heartbreaker.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, along with the Impact folks, we're trying to get another game plan and see how we can still create change.
to really to reschedule within the year or just early next year or something?
We're still talking to have options.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you wouldn't want to commit to something like that. It's all still up in the air.
Sure. Yeah.
How long has that been going on? You said 2018?
I believe so, yeah. And we had the off year for COVID initially.
Yeah.
Then we had a lineup. As soon as we dropped the lineup, we had to cancel the festival. Yeah.
Man, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's extremely unfortunate. Where is the festival hosted at?
It's at the West Virginia State Fairgrounds in Lewisburg.
Lewisburg, okay.
West Virginia.
I'm embarrassed to say I've not been to Healing Appalachia. I'm thinking of another festival out in the woods run by... Oh, I won't be able to remember it off the top of my head, but I'm a little embarrassed to say I haven't. I was gonna go to this one
area that you guys played, Devil's Backbone, maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't want to go searching for it because that'll be really boring to listen to. But it's something like that. Yeah. Well, tell me more about some of the other bands you manage. You said Buffalowabs. How'd you meet up with those guys?
Well, the Buffalowabs, random enough, I just ran into them a bunch at the V Club as they were playing in Huntington. Ian introduced me to them, and I just fell in love with that band.
Yeah.
And so once Ian really...
They're also really sweet guys.
They're
really nice
the best,
guys.
and they're amazing musicians. So, once Ian brought me on full time, we were trying to figure out, what my responsibilities were going to do. So basically I said I would love to have Short and Company and Buffalowabs. Both those bands are just so phenomenal, and I feel like they just need a team behind them. And we just hit it off, man, and really just started working together, and they've got a lot of good things coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Working on a new record, both them and Short and Company. Arlo's got a lot of big announcements coming as well. Yeah,
Arlo's tour, I'm still baffled by that. Does it go until January?
I think it ends December 29th at Headliners in Louisville, but we've got some little announcements coming
back in full swing. I'm just jealous when I see an artist with like a big list of tour dates. I'm like, even though we're about to go on the road for like 4 weeks or something like that, it's just anytime you see a humongous tour list like that, you're just like, that looks nice. That looks fun. It looks like a lot of work, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, to me it looks stressful.
Yeah. Well, don't get too stressed, man. You're doing a good job, and congratulations on all your success.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
And we'll be looking forward to any further news on Healing Appalachia.
Yeah, stay tuned. There's a lot of things coming.
Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping by, Keebie Gilkerson.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.